update, create our brackets, create our little curly brackets, and within this function, basically all this is going to do is when it's being updated, it'll just adjust the score that we see on the screen, and also it'll check that the score isn't below 0, because we don't want our players to have end up with minus 1,000 points or anything like that. So what we'll do is, if score is less than 0, then score is equal to 0. And then we'll go text dot text, so that'll access the text on the object that we've already got the component of, is equal to, and we have to put two little quote marks there to ensure that we're starting a string of text here. So text.text is equal to score, or else it'll be trying to convert the int and it'll throw problems. It's just the simplest way of handling that little thing. So that's fine, that's how our score will update on the screen. And what we want to do next is add a variable that can be accessed by anyone else to add points to our score. So what we'll do is we'll go public static again, and the static means there will only be one instance of it running at any time. Basically, is what it says. There won't be two score managers in the game. There's only one in each level. So public static void, we call this add points, and what we're going to do is say int. No, not add points. We'll say int points to add. So basically, whatever you put between these little brackets here is something that can be passed in by whatever function, whatever script calls this. So say we're going to create a coin object in a little bit, and that will give a player, say, 50 points. And within our script, we'll have add points, and then within the brackets, we'll put in 50, say. And then that will pass that into this script, and then we'll be able to use that number to add points to a player. And it's very simple how we add our points. So basically all we do is we take our score that we started off with, so score not even equals, score plus equals, which is a simple way of adding on any other value to whatever value you have. So score plus equals points to add. It's very straightforward, and that's all we really need in that little section there. And we're going to create one more public static void reset. Now this is something that we might want to use in the future, and we might not, but it'll be something, say if you wanted your players to lose all their points when they die, you could call this little function here. So what we're going to do here is just set score is equal to 0. That won't be called every time. You might not even want to call it at all, but we'll just add it in there because it's nice and simple to add. So convert that's fine. We'll go back to our game. We'll find these two text things. We'll actually rename these as well. So we'll call this first one score title, and this one score counter. And on our score counter, we will add that component we just created. So that will be our score manager script. There we go, perfect. So now if we hit play, we should see this 0, 0, 0 change back to just 0, because that's our default value. Yep, there you go, see, 0. But unfortunately, just yet, we don't have anything to give ourselves some points in the game. So let's fix that right now. If we go to our art folder here, and we go to our image that has all our drawings on it, basically. We go to sprite editor. We've got 3 little coin objects here, and we're gonna just take the first one. We'll just call this coin underscore 1. The other ones are there to add a little bit of animation, but we'll deal with that at some other point. For now, we're just gonna worry about adding the points to our game. So we'll just hit the arrow here to open things out. So we've got coin underscore 1. And in our scene view here, we're just going to zoom back into a reasonable view of our player and whatnot. So we'll get our coin here, grab it, drop it onto the scene, put it round about there. That seems like a relatively good space for it. So we're going to have to make this coin collectible. So what we'll do is we'll add a box collider. much as we have done with our checkpoints and stuff. We'll add our box collider. No, actually, sorry, no, we won't add a box collider. It's a circular object, so let's add a circle collider. We'll make it a trigger. So now, whenever the player comes in contact with it, he won't be stopped by it, but he'll be able to detect it, or it'll be able to detect him more specifically. So now what we're going to do is add another script to this coin that will handle adding points and being collected by the player and all that fun stuff. So we'll create a C# script, and we call this one coin pickup. Once again, we'll open it up in monodevelop. And again, this little bit of script is going to be relatively simple also, so we'll just delete that. So the first thing we want to do, we want to have the coin, we want to be able to decide how much our coins are going to give to our player. So we'll say public int points to add. And I don't think I mentioned why we're using ints rather than floats for our score, but basically, very simply, ints are only whole values of numbers, so they'll only be like 1, 2, 3, 4, -7, whatever, stuff like that, whereas floats will be 7.65 whatever. We're not going to have a situation where we need our points to be like the player has 7.6 points. That's not something we're interested in. So it's much easier to just stick to int for points. It's a much more kind of common thing to use anyway. And then to detect whether the player has entered the zone and whether to give some points, we'll go void on trigger enter 2D, and then collider 2D other, which is the basic on trigger enter default stuff that you need whenever a trigger is detected in 2D. And then we'll go if other, so that's the other game object that entered the trigger, dot get component player controller. So if other has the component player controller, which the only other that will have that will be the player. So if that is true, so if that's equal to null, so basically what this is checking, if that thing isn't on the other. If that is not on the other, then we'll go return. So say we have an enemy character wandering around, and that character walks into our coins. We don't want him to be able to pick up coins. We only want the player to be able to collect them. So if that thing is null, then we'll just say return, and that'll cancel the script, and it'll just go back to doing whatever it's doing. But if it does have the component, it'll continue onwards. So then what we'll do is we'll call from our score manager. So that function that we made static back here, the add points function. Now we can access that without having to find the object in the scene. So we can just go score manager dot add points, and we have our public int up here, points to add. So we're going to pass that into it. So whatever value we give that, that'll be sent to the score manager. And next thing we'll do is we'll simply just destroy game object. So that'll remove the coin as soon as it's picked up, and it'll give our points value to the player. So we'll save that, go back into the game, go back to our coin, and now we want to add that component to the coin. If this button will work, here we go. So coin pickup, I'm going to add that script on there, and we'll say 100 points you get for picking up a coin. So now if we hit play, once it loads, well, it helps if you don't kill your character. We walk along here, walk over here, jump up and grab it, and there we go, 100 points for the player. That's exactly what we want. But you might want the player to be to lose some points when he gets killed, because at the moment, you get killed, there's not really any punishment for that, but you want the player to feel consequences for losing his lives or whatever. So rather than just leaving it at 100, if we go to our level manager, and level manager is where we have our respawn player function. So we go to level manager, and we'll create a new public int here, and we'll call this we'll call it point penalty on death. So So that'll be a value that whenever the player dies, he'll have these points taken away. So then down here, after the player has been killed, we'll simply go, again, we'll just go score manager dot add points. And then rather than adding the points, we want to take away points. So we'll just say minus point penalty on death. You can do that, or you could leave it as a whole value, and within the inspector you could say like minus 100 points or whatever you want to make it. So now once this compiles, we should have an extra little slot here on our level manager. So there we go, point penalty on death, and we'll say 50 points rather than making you lose 100. We'll just take away 50. So now what we'll do here, we'll just duplicate this coin, pop him over there, pop him there, and we'll just select the three of them, and we'll duplicate all three of them again, and we'll just drag him over here, let's put him here, say, and we'll duplicate him one more time, put him here, and we hit that play button. And now as you wander through the game, we go up here, we'll collect a few points. Yay, we got 200 points. Yay. Oh no, we've lost 150 of them. But there you go. That's the basics of how to create your little point system in the game. You can go around collecting as many coins as you want. Much like we've done with killing the player, you can create a little particle effect like that. You could do the same thing with the coins if you wanted to. Create a little, for example, a yellow particle effect, and instantiate it the same way, the exact same way the player has done, which you should be able to do. So I would recommend go ahead and try and do that yourself, and we will look at doing that in a future episode. But thanks for watching, everybody. I will be back with more tutorials in the very near future. Keep your eyes peeled, and we'll always have more updates coming along the way. So yes, thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll be back soon with more tutorial goodness.